Hey, this is Overpass Insights. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now, today I want to talk about how you need to be ready and capable to leave your current job. All right, good morning. It is a beautiful, although cold, Monday morning here in England. When I left about an hour ago, it was -3 degrees Celsius. I think it must have warmed up a little bit because it doesn't feel that bad, but it's nippy. It is cold, but beautiful. The frost on everything. You know, as much as I'm not a big fan of the cold, I love this time of year. All right, today I want to talk about something that's not really one of the nicest things to talk about. It's about being ready to leave the company that you're in and always be prepared to be able to leave the company you're in, right? At the moment, there's a lot in the news about redundancies. Microsoft laying people off, Google, all the big tech giants, laying off thousands and thousands of software developers. Software developers all over the place are losing their jobs. And it's awful, especially when you think, they were pushed out or they weren't ready to go. Right. I've been through a few recessions. When the 2003 .com burst. I've been through the 2008 financial crisis when I was working at an investment bank at a time. So that was kind of a unique perspective where they started letting a bunch of their developers go, cutting the rates of all their contractors, that kind of stuff. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But you should always be prepared for it. I don't feel bad for the developers who are always keeping their skills up, thinking about the next job, keeping themselves marketable, because that's something we should all be doing. I always feel bad for the people who fall into that complacency. There's nothing worse than a complacent software developer, right? They think they own the place. They think, they can't get rid of me because I'm the only one who knows this system and that kind of stuff. And then you see them, carrying that box outside the building. Right? Or they take a job as a middle manager and they lose their skills, they lose their edge, they're not able to do what they're supposed to do. I've said this for years, that as software developers, if you consider yourself to be a professional, you have to keep your skills up. And that's not necessarily the on-the-job training, although if you can make that work, if all that works well for you, if your technology is not dying out, hey, all the power to you. But even just picking up the books and working on a little bit of code at home, being one of those people who is not just, I don't just go to work 9 to 5, but I'm a software developer. I talk about software. I write about software development. I do all that kind of stuff, and I'm ready. Every contract I've ever done, ever since the last time I was a permanent employee back in 2003, every contract I've done, I've been thinking about, how do I be marketable for the next contract? This contract's going to end at some point. What am I going to do next? Right? And if it renews, that's great. But if it doesn't, perfect. Because I'm ready. A couple of years ago, I started going to a boxing gym, which is really fun, right? I started working out and, hitting the bags and joining the classes. And I've done quite a lot of sparring. I've had quite a lot of bruises. I'm not very good at it. I will admit I'm not very good at it. So I don't make a big deal about it because although it's fun, it's so much fun. Highly encourage you to do it if you're interested in it. But what gets me is that a lot of these people are learning to fight because they have, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu there and MMA at the South Morton boxing gym locally. And, the people are learning to fight, not because there's a fight coming up, although for some of the professional fighters, they are training for a fight coming up. But most of the people, they're training in case they get into a fight so that they can handle themselves, so they don't get pushed around, so that they are always capable of moving on, whether they have to move on or whether they choose to move on. They're getting ready for that. The same with the military. Military is always training for a conflict. They don't train right because they know a conflict's coming up. The same thing is true with software development or professional development in general. So you always have to be ready for when they pull the rug out from beneath you, right? I used to know a guy, God, it was like 20 years ago. You know, he was like, I was in this men's club, this round table, like this thing in England, for a couple of years. And I knew this one guy who, he came in and he was so upset at one of the meetings. And he said, you know, he had lost his job of 20 years. He was made redundant. And he said, you know, he started complaining. He said, well, there's this one exam I could take and I could get a better job. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, you should do that. A couple weeks later, he comes in and he says, oh, I got a job. And I go, oh, great, you know. And then I said, are you still going to do that exam? And he goes, why should I? I've got a job now. You know, so I'm thinking, dude, he thought the next job would be 20 years long. And I don't know if it was or not. You know, he's not the kind of person that I was like, you know, hung around with or, you know, kept in contact with. Not my kind of, you know, person. But, you know, it was that short-sightedness. I know a lot of people who, you know, when they start looking for a job, then they start thinking about their LinkedIn profile. I'll start updating my LinkedIn profile because, you know, because I'm out of work. And they're looking around when it's too late. Years ago, I read a really good book by Harvey Mackay, who was a sales guy. And it's, the book's okay. The title is excellent. The title of the book is Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, right? In software, you know, learn the stuff you want to learn too. Don't just do the, you know, do like what you want your next job to be, because you may never use those skills. But just like, you know, a fighter who trains just in case, or a martial arts master who trains just in case, as a software developer, you have to keep your skills up. This, you know, think about how many technologies I've switched over the years. You know, it wasn't just you learn one thing and you stick with it. You got to always be ready, because this moves really, really fast. Anyway, for those of you guys out there, and also the other big one is that when you have those skills, when you're capable of leaving, not just willing to leave a current job, like if you're in a toxic work environment, you have to be capable of moving on, not just willing to move on, right? There's, you know, and a lot of people, they're miserable in their jobs and they want to leave, but they're just not capable of doing it. You know, their skills have waned. You know, they've started learning something that, a proprietary software that nobody else uses or something like that. Always be training, always be studying, always be learning new technologies, not just because it's fun, not just because, you know, you can do something cool with it, but because, you know, you're going to need it. Anyway, for those guys out there who are going through redundancies or you're scared about it, you know, I feel for you. I really do. Anyway, that's it for today. Sorry to be so negative. That is it for today. Hope you guys stay healthy, stay safe. I'll talk to you next time.